Thad, what does it take for an adequate squat workout?
Essentially, the program is designed to address all phases of the raw squat. So it's important to note that this is specifically for a raw squat. It specializes in that. We address the top end of the squat, overloading the nervous system. We address the bottom end and getting power out of the hole and keeping the lifter upright. We also develop stability in the core so that there's maximum transfer from the feet through to the bar. The first exercise we typically get into is high box, and it's a lot of fun. A lot of people get a lot of excitement out of it. You use a lot of weight. Essentially, you're going off of a box that's 4 to maybe even 5 inches above parallel, and you're working as heavy as you can for 3, 5, even 6 reps. And that's to develop total confidence, stability in the core, and a hell of a top end. And for example, just to give an example of the high box numbers, you squat how much full range in your last meet?
390.
Okay, so 390, and you've handled well upwards of 585
on high
reps
box.
off of a high box. So just to give you an example of the kind of weight that you need to use to gain the effect from that particular exercise. So that's usually what we lead off with. It's worth noting too that a box squat has the ability to break up the myotatic reflex between the lifter's bottom and top end. So by doing it all on the top, you also develop a lot of explosiveness from different heights. So wherever you choose to put the box, you're developing explosiveness from that height. So by starting with the heaviest and the highest movement, we tune up the nervous system and get the lifter ready for bigger lifts.
You know, I tend to notice that doing a lot of high box makes me very confident when I go ahead and do a free squat.
Yeah.
If I can handle 5 plates, no problem on the high box, going to 4 plates on a free squat is going to feel like butter.
Absolutely. That's part of the thing, is building confidence and being confident, backing out. There's no greater expression of power than having something on your back and bending down and standing up with it. It's intimidating. It also requires balance. It requires power in the core. And just to get a lifter ready to move the kind of numbers they need to move, it's a tool it's a preparatory tool to get lifters stronger and build confidence. Usually we'll do a warm-up in a free squat. The free squat's gonna be the primary movement, and we want the lifter to be fresh. So we'll go through and we'll free squat. We'll get up to, depending on the day, we'll get up to a heavy double or a triple. That number's totally gonna depend on the lifter. Then we'll proceed to a high box, which is what we've been talking about. Then from the high box, we'll usually move on, and usually we'll do low box. The low box is designed to develop power out of the bottom. Usually the weights are light. The weights are gonna be about 50% of what you did on the high box, maybe even less, depending on where your form breaks down. But getting somebody to really learn how to sit back, unload, and fire from the hole, using a low box is a great tool to do that. It minimizes the soreness. It also maximizes the ability to turn it on when you're in the hole and you're in your least advantageous position. From that point, usually in the workout, we'll proceed to do statics. Now, I don't really know how everybody's numbers shake out on statics, but just to give you an example, whatever it is you did on the low box, you're usually gonna do a little bit more on a static. And by a little bit more, it's hard to say. What would you give an example for yourself?
Right now, I'm doing my low box squats at about 275, okay. And my statics, I'll start with 275 and then I'll do one at 300.
Okay, that makes sense. So you pick up more or less where you left off with the low box. Statics essentially, it's a way of pausing in the hole, getting tight, and exploding with about a 3 to 4 second pause. Some people call them pause squats, some people call them statics. But in this case, there's a start out of the hole, about 1 inch above the hole, there's a pause. And from that point on, you explode the rest of the way through. This trains the lifter to really blow up out of the hole, and it keeps you really stable when you're in the hole. So by getting down, firing off, holding it right above the hole, you develop the static strength, which is why it's called static, to be stable with a bar on your back in a really disadvantageous position.
I tend to find my core drop a lot when I get to that heavy weight, and these statics are great because it forces you to keep your core up, and then when it's time to start the rep again, initiate with your chest up. Yeah,
absolutely. So with regards to repetitions and sets, we'll see how it breaks down on the video, but typically there's a free squat, which is gonna work up to a lifter's 1 or 2 reps. maybe a triple. That's going to take however long it's going to take. It's going to be very individual for a lifter. If you're somebody that squats 600, that might take 6 sets. If you're somebody that squats 300, it might take 4 sets. But getting warmed up and getting the full range of motion perfect is the goal. Moving on to high box, you'll typically see guys do about 3 to 4 sets and going up as heavy as they can quickly.
Around 4 to 6 reps?
Yeah, 4 to 6 reps. That's about adequate. Even as low as 3 if it's a real challenge. Then you move on and we're doing low box, and that would probably be 2 sets, 4 to 5 reps, maybe 6 reps. Again, we're not trying to get maximal poundages. Obviously, this is work. This is just ugly work, and it has to be done if you want to develop a good squat. The next thing we move on to, the last thing we move on to is statics, where lifter's pretty tired. This is the last thing, and requiring somebody to stay tight and blow up out of the hole, freeze, and then come up again is really hard. And it really develops a lot of intestinal fortitude.
Afterwards, and the squatting usually takes, what, an hour, 90 minutes?
I would say so, yeah.
Which is a lot of time just for one movement, but it's barbell, super important. After that, we kind of wrap up the workout with some assisted exercises, isolating particular muscles in the legs, quads, hamstrings, glutes, even calves. Yeah. You got to think about your legs as a support, and you isolate each individual part of that support and make it stronger. And then collectively as a whole, you retest that next week on your squats again. I think we did some hamstring curls, leg press, which are important. What are some other important assisted exercises? Because there's hundreds. There are actually. One of the biggest problems is the goal with squatting is to drive yourself through a barbell. It's basically you're wedged between a weight and the floor. So the weak link in the human body is always the middle. Transfer of power requires that the middle of your body has to be solid. Otherwise, there's a dispersal of power. So if you address the issues that are holding you back, you have to analyze what's wrong with your squat and fix it. You'd say low back, abdominals are key. So stiff leg deadlifts, GHRs, back raises, weighted abs, decline abs, anything you can think of that's going to solidify the middle of your body to help you better transfer power through your body is going to be the key. Like Eddie said, working on the auxiliary movements, quads, hamstrings, all that can do is help give you more mass to move more weight and give you more stability in your body to handle bigger weights. I think you could easily spend an additional 30 to 40 minutes working on assistance movements, depending on your conditioning level. But the main thing is to identify where you're really falling apart in the squat or what's really wrong, and attack that specifically with assistance movements once you've done the main movements. So we'll hope you guys enjoy watching the workout, as well as hope you learn something from it. Take what you can from it, and if it works for you, great. I think it's a great system, and it's proven itself out on a lot of lifters. Okay, so that wraps up our squat workout. Hopefully you learned a little something about how Metroflex Long Beach trains for powerlifting, at least with the squat. Make sure to check out our bench press and our deadlift videos, along with the ebooks. There's some great information on there on how to get your numbers really high. Over and out. See you on the platform. See you there.